Welcome to Bodhi Unified Flow, where we simplify complexity and amplify performance. Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating concept that's, believe it or not, revolutionizing construction by looking thousands of years into the past. It's called the master builder concept, and it's this old idea that might just hold the key to fixing what many see as a modern broken system. How? By unifying the entire building process, from the very first sketch right down to the final brick.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to uncover this lost ideal of the master builder. Then we'll get into how it all kind of fell apart in what's called the Great Fragmentation. After that, we'll explore how we're actually rebuilding this model today, supercharging it with technology. And finally, and this is the really cool part, we'll look at some incredible performance data that makes a pretty strong case that this is the future.
To really appreciate where the industry is heading, I think we first have to understand where it's been. So let's travel back in time, back to an era where the architect and the builder, they were the same person, a time when designing and constructing a building was a single, totally unified act.
And the origin of the word, it really tells the whole story, doesn't it? The Greek Architektōn literally means chief builder. This wasn't just a designer sitting in an office somewhere. No, this was a complete fusion of architect, engineer, and constructor. A single mind, a single entity guiding a project from that initial vision all the way to reality. It was all about ensuring a seamless, totally unified execution. And listen, this wasn't just some short-lived trend. We're talking about thousands of years where this integrated model was the absolute standard. Think about it. From the great ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the monuments of ancient Rome, all the way to those jaw-dropping cathedrals in medieval Europe. The master builder was that single point of responsibility. They were the ultimate guarantor of quality, of integrity, and of successfully delivering these incredible projects that, well, they're still standing today.
So what happened? If this unified approach was so incredibly effective for literally millennia, how on earth did it become so fractured? How did we end up with the siloed and, frankly, often adversarial system that we see in so many projects today? Understanding the shift, well, it's a critical piece of the whole puzzle. Well, the shift really began with the Industrial Revolution. As professions started to specialize, that single role of the master builder was, well, it was shattered. It broke into three separate camps. You had the owner, you had the designer, and you had the constructor. And all of a sudden, you've got different contracts, different goals, and, you guessed it, often completely conflicting interests.
This fragmentation is what gave birth to the traditional design-build model, a model that, believe it or not, many still use today. It's a very linear, very sequential process. See, an architect designs something, often in a vacuum. Then the project is put out to bid, and a contractor gets chosen, usually based on the lowest price. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, critical construction knowledge is completely walled off from the design phase, and that leads to designs that are tough or just plain expensive to build. It leads to costly rework, and it creates a culture where finger-pointing becomes the norm whenever things go wrong.
Okay, so in response to all these challenges, the industry started to innovate. People started thinking there has to be a better way. They came up with new models specifically designed to bring back that unified oversight of the master builder. This is really the story of how we started to rebuild the master.
And this chart, it really shows a clear evolution, right? A move away from fragmentation and a journey back toward integration. You can see it starts with design build, which at least creates a single point of contact. Then you get to CMAR, that's construction manager at risk, which is even better because it brings the builder in to advise during the design phase. And then, right at the top, you have Integrated Project Delivery, or IPD, and that's the ultimate form of collaboration.
This definition here from the American Institute of Architects, it just captures it perfectly. It says that integrated project delivery is the very apex of this whole evolution, and it's so much more than just a contract. It's a fundamental philosophy. It's all about creating a project-first culture, a culture where the collective intelligence of the entire team is unlocked from day one. And that sounds a lot like the spirit of the original master builder, doesn't it?
And this is the engine that makes IPD work. It's the multi-party agreement, and it fundamentally changes the game. See, unlike traditional models where every party is kind of protecting their own turf, here everyone is bound together. Profits and losses, they're shared. This alignment of financial incentives is brilliant because it forces the question to shift from what's best for me to what's best for the project. It completely replaces the blame game with shared accountability. And just like that, you've recreated that single point of responsibility the original master builder embodied.
But, this kind of really deep collaboration, it needs a modern toolkit to actually work. You can't just wish it into existence. So if a contract like IPD provides the why we should collaborate, then technology provides the how.
It really is the modern equivalent of the master builder's all-seeing eye, and it offers insights they could have only dreamed of. Right at the heart of this digital transformation is something called Building Information Modeling, or BIM. And I have to stress, BIM is so much more than just a 3D model. It's the collaborative nexus for the entire project. Think of it like a shared digital twin, where every single stakeholder, designers, builders, subcontractors, even the owner, can see, test, and coordinate their work in real time. It basically allows the team to build the entire project virtually before ever breaking ground. And what does that do? It eliminates clashes and errors before they can ever happen on the actual site. It's a game changer.
So it's really a whole suite of technologies that come together to create this digital master builder. You've got BIM integrating the design with the schedule and the cost. You've got laser scanning creating these perfect models of existing conditions, which just eliminates all the guesswork. And then you have augmented reality, which lets teams literally see the digital plan overlaid on the physical site. All of this together, it replicates that all-seeing oversight of the original master builder, but now it's supercharged with the power of modern data.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? A collaborative contract supported by some seriously powerful technology. But does this new master builder model actually deliver better results? Does it work in the real world? Well, the data isn't just compelling, it's downright revolutionary.
I mean, the data is pretty undeniable. And these aren't small, marginal gains we're talking about. On average, integrated BIM-enabled projects are 12% faster and come in 6% under budget. And get this, quality gets a huge boost with a 25% reduction in punch list items. You know, that final list of fixes and errors on a job. The evidence is just crystal clear. These projects are faster, they're cheaper, and they're better.
Let's think about one of construction's biggest problems for a second: labor productivity. On a typical, fragmented project, workers spend less than half their time on actual productive tasks. The rest of the time, it's wasted, just waiting for materials or instructions. But with an integrated model, that number jumps all the way up to 74%. That is a revolutionary leap in efficiency. We're talking about more than doubling the productive time on site.
And the benefits don't stop there. They extend far beyond the construction phase itself. By integrating the planning and bringing all that expertise to the table right from the beginning, these projects can achieve a staggering 55 to 75% reduction in operational energy use over the building's entire life cycle. So what does that really mean? It means we're creating buildings that are not only better and more efficient to build, but are also far better to live and work in for decades to come.
So where does all this integration and data ultimately lead? Well, it leads to the ultimate evolution of the master builder concept, something the industry calls productization. You could say this is the endgame. It means we start treating buildings less like unique one-off prototypes and more like highly customizable, high-performance products. By using things like platform-based designs and digital fabrication, the industry can deliver a level of precision and value that was, honestly, previously unimaginable.
All right, let's bring all these threads together. Let's really consider what this journey, from the ancient past all the way to the digital future, really means for the construction industry right here, right now.
At the end of the day, the takeaway is crystal clear. This shift back towards integration isn't just a trend, it's a strategic mandate for a healthier industry. The old way, the fragmentation, it just created waste and conflict. But these modern collaborative methods, powered by technology, they're recapturing the spirit of the master builder. And the data proves it. We build better on every single metric. It feels like the industry is finally maturing, recognizing that simple truth: we build better when we build together.
So, we'll end with a provocative thought for you to chew on. As we continue to embrace these core principles of the master builder, holistic thinking, shared accountability, a relentless focus on value, are we actually moving beyond the idea of just completing projects? Maybe. Maybe the future isn't about building projects at all, but about delivering highly integrated, high-performance products for the built environment. It's a profound shift for sure, and one that promises a more efficient, sustainable, and collaborative future for every single one of us.
Thank you for joining us at Bodhi Unified Flow. The research and case studies referenced in this explainer provide a wealth of further detail for those of you looking to learn more. We really hope this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of how looking to the past can help us build a much better future for construction.